Uncanceled Comedy Collective presents Top Censored News of the Week. It is time for Top Censored News of the Week, bringing you guys the stories the mainstream media just refuses to cover. If they do cover the stories, they always do it in a very sloppy or dishonest way, and it's always on purpose. Let's get into the number 3 story. Here we go. Coming in at number 3, Senator Thomas Massie has been targeted by Trump to be primaried. That's weird. I wonder what that's about. Let's see what Trump tweeted out. Okay. Donald Trump puts out on his Truth Social. Thank you to the House Freedom Caucus for just delivering a big blow to the radical left Democrats and the desire to raise taxes and shut our country down. They hate America and all it stands for. That's why they allowed millions of criminals to invade our nation. Sometimes it takes great courage to do the right thing. Here we go. Congressman Thomas Massie of beautiful Kentucky is an automatic no vote on just about everything, despite the fact that he has always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. He should be primaried, and I will lead the charge against him. He's just another grandstander who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. He reminds me of Liz Cheney before her historic record-breaking fall. The people of Kentucky won't stand for it. Just watch. Do I have any takers? Anyway, thanks again to the House Freedom Caucus for your very important vote. We need to buy some time in order to make America great again, greater than ever before. Unite and win. I'm not sure if Trump realized how much that was going to backfire on him, but Thomas Massie is not taking this lying down. I want to be clear. We're going to walk through this, guys. So the bill that Trump is saying that, it went through and Thomas Massie was obstructing it was because it wasn't doing enough. The CR that Thomas Massie was saying does not do enough. Massie is very unique that way. He doesn't follow his handlers. We're going to get into what handlers we're talking about, but this is a classic. We see this happen all the time. This happens on the Democratic side too, where someone says no to a bill because it didn't go far enough, and then you spin that story as if they weren't for the thing. Thomas Massie absolutely is for the budget cuts. He just wanted more of them. So Trump is using this no vote by Thomas Massie as an excuse to start a process of having him primaried. And Trump usually gets his way when he targets one of his own and says, you're no longer cool, let's get rid of you. He can usually get his way. In this case, it doesn't look like that's actually going to happen well for him. Before we get to what happened next with Massie, I want you guys to fully understand, and Massie went on Tucker Carlson and he explained the handler situation in Congress and how it works. And it seems like, whether you believe this or not, Tucker Carlson presents as if he didn't know this at all. A lot of us found out recently, but Tucker should have known this, but that's besides the point. The point is, he went on Tucker's show on Twitter and exposed the real problem in Congress, which is everybody has an AIPAC handler. Let's hear him explain it right from his own mouth. Thomas Massie on Tucker.
Register.
Is there any other Republican who has your views on this?
Well, I have Republicans who come to me on the floor and say, I wish I could vote with you today. Yours is the right vote, but I would just take too much flack back home. And I have Republicans who come to me and say, that's wrong what AIPAC is doing to you. Let me talk to my AIPAC person. By the way, everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
I don't know how it works on the Democrat side, but that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them, and they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them. So I've had
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to, dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
It doesn't benefit anybody. Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
They're not going to tell you that. Well, we know it now. We know it now. We certainly know it now. That information you think would be very important for all of us to have, as far as understanding how our Congress works and how our government works. The fact that we don't even have this discussion, and he's only representing the Republicans. We know the Democrats also have AIPAC handlers. That's how it works. Massey is the only one. It seems he's the only one in the entire Congress that doesn't have a handler. How did he get that? How did he get to be the only one? That's a hard one to understand. We might need to ask Craig Pasta more clearly about that. I know Craig has talked directly with Thomas Massey several times, had short interviews with him regarding his libertarian stances and the things that he's been fighting for the people. Less government, very consistent with stuff over the years. The COVID stuff, he was on the right side of history. But more than that, just understanding that he doesn't have to check in with somebody like that to dictate or go against or kind of influence what he's going to say yes and no to. And that's a problem. And Trump needs to understand that the MAGA movement also understands this. They're not stupid. Some of them are. But let's be clear. There's enough of them that are furious about this, and they're not going to let Trump get away with this. And we think that's a good thing. For AIPAC Tracker, here's a good one. Trump wants to primary Thomas Massey. AIPAC Tracker will let the track AIPAC. They will tell us, look at how much money our own president of the United States is in bed with AIPAC. Looks like about over $230 million. Look over at Thomas Massey. How much is he in with AIPAC? Approximately $0.00. Huh. Now, does this have anything to do with what Trump is talking about on his tweet? No, Trump doesn't mention this. He's talking about that, Thomas Massey's voting no on stuff, that he needs to go. He needs to go. Well, let's see what the replacement situation is looking like right now. Well, Jewish Insider is saying RJC says it will join Trump in backing potential primary challenge to Thomas Massey. Well, that's interesting. So they're already pushing for this. This battle is not over. Thomas Massey has to fight. He does have people on his side. He does have MAGAs. People who voted for Trump are on his side about this. So we'll see where it goes. But I think that the more conversations we have about AIPAC and the influence it has, not just on Congress, but on the president of the freaking United States and everything he does and all the people he assigns, they're all Zionists. We know this. This is going to wake more people up, and we do think it's a very good thing that MAGAs are furious about this, and they should be. Could you imagine if Democrats also were vocal when their party screwed them? That would be awesome, but no, they don't know how to do that at all. So congrats to MAGAs for doing that, doing a good job calling out this BS. Hopefully Massey can hang on and win this fight. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Okay, coming in at number 2, Maui Police Chief John Paletter named as co-conspirator in Diddy rape case lawsuit. This doesn't look good. This is the breaking. John Paletter named as a co-conspirator in the Diddy case. Now, Paletter was police captain during the Las Vegas massacre. Okay, so we already knew that when we were covering the Lahaina fires a year and a half ago. And then, so he was in Vegas, and that was in 2017. And then he moves over to Maui and is the police captain during the biggest fire in 100 years. He was the chief of police, and they assigned him as the coroner. Can you believe that? The guy had a double job, chief of police and coroner. So he was in charge of the policy of all the people that were trying to get out of Maui that day, the Lahaina traffic. If you guys remember, there was a traffic around the block. They just kept pulling people around the circle and say, you can't leave. You have to keep going back. And people that followed those instructions were killed. That happened. This is the guy that gave that order. And then he was in charge of the coroner office, where he went through the dead bodies, and then we had the death count, which was all screwed up. So this guy is now named in the Diddy case. What is going on there? Insane. Very insane. Okay. Now, aside from that, there are other people in the Maui fires situation that involve people that have been charged for sexual assault, rape of children. There's another guy. His name is Sean Thompson or Thomas. He was the incident commander. So Sean Thomas worked with John Paletter. So let's look at an older clip. This is Sean Thomas Rogers getting arrested. Again, working from the Maui Police Department. He's getting arrested for raping a 14-year-old child.
New details in the indictment of a Maui fire chief charged with sex assault and continuous sexual assault of a minor. The new court documents say Battalion Chief Sean Rogers began abusing the victim in 2019 when she was about 12 years old, and the alleged assaults continued for about 2.5 years. Rogers, who is 52 years old, turned himself in today after a warrant was issued for his arrest last week. Rogers is a 25-year veteran of the Department of Fire and Public Safety and was the incident commander during the August wildfires. Today, MFD Chief Brad Ventura said in a statement, "We are deeply concerned about the allegations. Mr. Rogers is not scheduled to work this week, and we will continue to evaluate this situation as more information is available."
This corruption in Maui, this corruption, this ongoing P. Diddy situation, this is, you guys, this is something that the mainstream should be all over every single day, and they're not. They don't want to keep us updated on this. We have to go do the digging ourselves. I just want to make sure you guys saw this story specifically and why you're not seeing this on mainstream. Local Hawaii news will cover this. But this is the guy. If you guys recognize him, he is the now named as a co-conspirator in the Diddy rape case. And the mayor is now calling for leave and an open investigation on this guy. So there's multiple people that work out of the Maui Police Department that have trails of corruption, affiliation with this type of behavior, raping little kids. Let's see what this story is. Yes. So the Maui mayor, Richard Bisson, is asking the police commissioner to place Maui Police Department Chief John Paletter on leave after the chief was named in a lawsuit alleging he posed as a sheriff to a woman who reported being raped by Sean Diddy Combs and took 2 people at gunpoint from Las Vegas to the California home where they witnessed the rape of the woman in 2018. Now how is this going on in Vegas? Again, he was the police chief in Vegas during the Vegas shooting in 2017. So this incident with Diddy happened in 2018 in Vegas before he came to Maui to be the police commissioner and botch the biggest fire in 100-year history. So that's how corrupt this guy is, being tied to this. And this is not on the news right now, which is insane. So the allegations came to light on Friday when lawyers for Ashley Parham and 2 other plaintiffs amended the lawsuit that was originally filed in October. There are other defendants named, along with comedian Drewski Desbordes and Miami Dolphins wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. Wow. So those of you guys who know, you were watching the P. Diddy's thing unfold, they might try to, the mainstream might try to sweep this under the rug, but the fact is that there's going to be more and more people coming out and being tied to this. This thing is huge. And just hearing that these celebrities are tied to this thing isn't over. We'll keep an eye on it. But that is how corrupt all of these cases are. And it's all connected. It's all connected. The same people that run our police organizations are the people tied to the child sex trafficking stuff, are tied to these the Vegas shooting, everything. It's all the same people. And they should all be in jail, especially this guy, John Paletter, especially him. So we'll keep an eye on this one for you guys. Okay, coming in at number 1 for top censored news of the week, InfoWars reporter Jamie White murdered execution style Sunday night, who was previously identified on the Ukrainian hit list. Horrible news that when this broke. Let's look at the story breaking, and then Alex Jones, head of InfoWars, and his reaction to this tragic news that unfolded on Sunday night. Here we go.
Hernandez, police on the scene in East Austin at Douglas Street and Old Torf Street. A 911 call came in just before midnight last night. Bear Tryon has been there for us within the last few hours to figure out exactly what police are saying from that investigation. Good morning.
Police really releasing few details about what happened overnight, but this is what we do know right now. Police say they actually found the victim here in the parking lot of this apartment complex. EMS ended up taking that man to the hospital where he later died. Right now, police will not say exactly if he was shot or stabbed, only saying that he had obvious trauma. Homicide detectives still on scene, as I mentioned this morning, collecting evidence. We've seen also a lot of activity in a second floor apartment where they've been taking evidence bags out. Right now, police say they do not have any information about a suspect, and they're asking if you know something about that to contact them. You can also remain anonymous using Crime Stoppers.
The afternoon of Monday, March 10th, 2025, and I come to the InfoWars family of viewers and listeners into the world with some really horrible news. There are a lot of really cool people that have worked at InfoWars over the years, and one of the most amazing people was Jamie White. You know him as a great reporter and researcher. He was up here last night working late during the Sunday show and after it. And we even have his last post on X where he responded to Elon Musk. Jamie was murdered last night outside of his home, just a few miles away from our studios. And we are the folks here breaking that news first because his family has been notified, and his good personal friends here that were very close to Jamie have talked to his folks and family.
So this was an execution style murder. And as Alex Jones looked into it and saw how it was done, there's no one being named yet as the suspect. But what we're looking into, and a lot of people have already pointed this out, and we'll just go ahead and throw this up. Well, this is Alex Jones's official tweet out of the incident. We're deeply saddened to inform you that InfoWars reporter Jamie White was brutally murdered around midnight Sunday night due to, in part, policies of Soros Austin, Texas, Jose Garza. We pledge that Jamie's tragic death will not be in vain, and those responsible for this senseless violence will be brought to justice. Jamie's important work will be carried on through InfoWars, our readers, and our cherished listeners. So obviously his first instinct is to blame the ineffectiveness of the police policy in Texas, in Austin, Texas. But when we look more into it, it's pretty obvious that Jamie was on a hit list that we know about. It's the Ukrainian hit list. And Tara Reid, who was a friend of the show, she was actually just on a few weeks ago. She's still in Russia, but she kind of nails it here by asking the right question. Why is the murder of a journalist in Austin, Texas, not all over the mainstream media? Jamie White was very outspoken about the proxy war that's in Ukraine. This was work of Ukrainian terrorists? That's what we all want to know. They have killed a U.S. journalist before. You guys remember Gonzalo Lira. So this would not be the first journalist killed by Ukraine, by Zelensky's dictatorship government. The Western media remains silent on this. Why? 100%. These are the questions that need to be asked. These are the questions. Let's look at Jamie himself before he was murdered. What he had to say. Look at that. Jamie White. I'm on the Ukrainian enemies list due to my work at InfoWars and with real Alex Jones on the Ukraine proxy war. The group who compiled this list is tied to the U.S. State Department, USAID, CIA, and George Soros. Okay, well, there it is. There it is. And as Tara Reid mentions, rightfully so, we don't have any coverage of this on the mainstream media. They're not going to tell us all this stuff. They're not going to look into the why. That's their job, is to do a little blurb about it and then move on. They might say at the end of the blurb, oh, we'll look into it. We'll let you know when any suspect comes up. And that'll be it. They don't want you to connect the dots. They don't want you to look into things. So we start with asking that question. Why did this guy get Jamie White, a journalist? It seems as if not just brutally murdered, but murdered execution style. So this isn't a robbery gone wrong or some, domestic dispute or anything like that. We're talking about execution style murder. A guy who has been calling out the proxy war. He's in our vicinity. Look, we don't agree with Alex Jones on everything, but I'm going to tell you this. It takes courage to run a news organization that is constantly challenging deep state activity. And in this particular case of the Ukraine proxy war, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of determination and a lot of courage to do the job that they've been doing for the last 3 years against this proxy war. So we're with you, Alex Jones. We're with InfoWars on this story. And again, Tara Reid called it out. Why isn't the mainstream media covering it? Well, we know the answer because that's how they behave. They're designed to keep us in line and not ask questions, and we got to do the work for them. So that's basically it. And that's why we have to do Top Censored News of the Week.